Hey guys, Steve Rude for another live stream. Here's the drawing that I'm going to be working from, and I'm going to be translating this one into the same process you saw in the Albert Dorne example. This is going to be done in permanent colored black and white ink, wash, and it's going to be gone over, even though this is a black and white image right here, with colored inks. And that'll be today's demonstration for you guys that are interested in this kind of technique. On the back of this is something I did for the fun of it, and that's a little Thunder Peel drawing based on a Marilyn Monroe reference thing. There's always something in the back of these right here, because that's just the way I am sometimes. I was using up both sides of the paper. Let's look at some storytelling examples that I always like to insert in the various live streams that go on every Saturday here. This is an added bonus. We're kind of big on added bonuses here. The first is going to be something from my friend Mike Vosberg. And the moment I saw this, I knew that I had seen something that was doing Toth one up from Toth. And that was this one right here. Let's move the sketchbook out of the way. This was one of his panels that I happened to color in, I believe. And it's just silhouette alone tells you how powerful an image can be if you know how to compose a panel. This is a person leaping on somebody who is a bad guy, or in this case, bad girl. And I think it was so stunning. I had to make a Xerox of this right here. This is a panel from the Big G, as I call him. This is one of his earlier works right here, and it just goes on to display the genius that occurs often in the early stages of someone's career. This is from the black and white Master of Kung Fu magazine that was inked by Al Milgrom in a very crude way that I don't think Lacey was looking for at that time, but this is a fairly horizontal panel. Look at the storytelling involved here. This is, to call it less than pure genius is to denigrate the intelligence that went into this panel right here. So we have a long panel. This look in this girl's face alone is stunning. Do we have this one up? Okay, thumbs up on that one. And the idea that you would see the image in the background in the rear view mirror is nothing less than completely stunning. In fact, I feel the stunning effect as I look at it right now. The look in this girl's face is just kills me right here. It is the pathos in her face is just. I look at this now the same way I looked at it back in the late 70s. Just the emotion alone is just the apex of storytelling. So we're going to move this one aside right here. What else do we have for storytelling? We're going to get into some black spotting, but before that, here's another example of the Big G right here. In his later years, his drawing wasn't quite the same as it used to be in his early years, but the storytelling is still very much intact. Colors were done by me with marker. Look at the ingenious of the layout factor in this picture right here. The whole idea of it rotating like this, with the eye being the focus of this thing right here. It's just, you can see the storytelling part of his talents have not abandoned him here. This is what I look at when I'm trying to summon up images of my own that I know are going to make the difference between standard material, standard storytelling material, and something that goes way beyond the average person's material for storytelling. What do we have here? Oh, this is from a Barry Smith thing that came out with Machine Man, the miniseries he did back, I believe, in the 90s. This is his panel right here. And, you know, Barry's a big Jack Kirby fan, so he should have taken it upon himself to use some of the lessons of Kirby and go from what he did here to this right here. This is a trademark Kirby mannerism right here that, in spite of 100 billion years of observing Kirby that anyone has access to. I'm just shocked at how few people ever pick up on this. And that is the bleaching of the impact with a light effect and removing detail from the impact area, which is what I've done here. But this one fails because it's all in there. It's all there in the same amount of detail as anywhere else. Here it's been bleached out. Kirby invented this probably at a young age when he was involved in street fights in the slum areas of New York. When he would say that he was in the what did he call it? I can't think of what he would call it, but it was the wrong end of a fist. And he says, if you've ever been in the wrong end of a fist, you would know what it feels like to see stars. This is the equivalent of what he felt when he got hit. You would kind of see a blank area, white space. And that's what he was trying to go for when he would depict it like this in his comics. Yet nobody has ever picked up on this. They continue to do it like this the whole time. Go figure. Storytelling, that's storytelling right there. Remember we were talking about black and white, the black and white black spotting last time? Well, we have some examples of that this time. This is from the great George Pérez. And I remember seeing this panel right here. This is George's panel as it appeared in the comic. And I looked at this and saw all these possibilities that weren't there. And being the guy that likes to experiment, I took this single, looks like a full-page spread, and added some blacks to it. And this is what I came up with for possibilities. There's the actual George panel as it appeared. And I thought, God, there's so much you could do with this for black spotting. Now, there's a lot of blacks on this, but they're all a little bit different every time. Mostly in the fact that there's cast shadows on the wall and there's cast shadows going over the mummy here in different degrees. So let your brain soak that up in the way that clever black spotting is made possible. And the last one I did, which is actually today, I think is the right one because it's not too black heavy. I think it's just enough. It's not too much, it's not too little, it's just enough. It's got cast shadows against the wall, showing it's where the wall is. It's got just enough of the mummy and just enough from him to show a cast shadow. Don't be afraid of experimenting with blacks. Blacks are kind of like the anchoring that shows things are based in reality. It anchors things to real life as it would be in real life. We're going to move into Robert Fawcett territory right here. And this is how Bob Fawcett would actually start out his colored ink technique. If indeed he actually decided to go into the colored ink technique and went beyond just black and white. But that's how he would start off before colored inks were added. So it was a very aggressive thing done with a brush, and probably something called a ruler to get the straight lines. I think we all have a ruler somewhere in our studio. And Bob Fawcett was a very aggressive artist. So is Albert Dorne, in the way that they like to just, how do I describe it? I wish Mike Vosberg was here to help me out. He has a great vocabulary in describing Bob Fawcett's technique because he's one of the foremost guys knowing about Bob Fawcett because he's got probably more Robert Fawcett originals than anyone in the country, aside from the illustration houses. But it's very aggressive and it's not timid. He just blasts away in there and somehow is able to, if there's any areas that are too aggressive, he knows how to temper them with gouache that comes in later on, softening certain areas that may need it. So that's one rough that he did. Here's another rough based on the first one that we saw here. Okay, yeah, so this is different versions. Artists love to play around with different versions of something. It's just a mind exercise for them that they enjoy doing. To them, this is playtime, and I can certainly understand that. See the cast shadow in her skirt right there? Yeah, cast shadow against the wall there. But other than that, it's just form shadows against the various elements in the picture. It's just plain. It's fun to experiment with this stuff. And there's actions going on. By the way, this is clearly based on a picture of Bob Fawcett himself. He was always putting himself in his actual pictures, of which his fellow illustrators gave him no end of grief about. So it was just good-natured fun that was always going on. Life figure studies. He would call in a model that he loved to not admit to, but he would call in models in his studio and just throw a light on them and just start drawing away. I wish I had people at my beck and call like that. Here's a few more of them. You can tell where the light's coming from based on the shadows on the arm and the back. This is also something that's fun for a lot of artists. I wrote something up here. Figures almost incidental to massive background work. So Fawcett was very wisely put all the incredible detail that did not interfere with the central location of the figures. So he knew where to put it and where not to put it. Very smart guy. So I can tell you with some authority that all this stuff right here began as the black and white stuff that I was showing you earlier. And transparent inks came in to go over these things with occasional gouache touches to as needed. But when the colors went over the black and white areas, it would kind of soften the black and white areas a little bit. When color went over it, it was just kind of lessened the impact of the straight black. So it started off like this, and this, and then when color came in, it would look like the one we just saw. Here's a demonstration piece from the famous artist course that all the people in the know about, so I'm sure you know about it. A 1, 2, 3 demo. Here's the photo that you would work from if you were working from photographic reference. Here's step 2 that you would do based on working from the photo. This was done by Fawcett, by the way, as a demo to help out students. And this was color. This was black and white ink going over this version right here, light and shadow plus the local color. And from here, you would put the actual colored version of the inks. This would be a dark brown. This would be whatever color he wanted. The hair would probably be a darker version of brown, all that kind of stuff. So you can see the way this works. It does take time to understand this stuff. Nothing comes easy. It's not meant to be. And by the way, speaking of, you guys know that I often give lessons in personal philosophy on my show right here. And I think it's important to impart some of these things, given that this is more than just a how to draw podcast here. So I'm going to impart some of these now, but on the actual, what I call the title card, we mentioned something about something that I have thought about over the years, and it's what I call, what is the ultimate person? What does the ultimate person possess? Assuming there could be such a thing, which I'm going to guess there's not. But if there were, what would he have? And I kind of broke it down originally to 2 things, and I thought, well, let's give everyone a break here who's not a superhuman. So I added 2 more things. And for those who haven't read this yet, these are things no one else is going to tell you. Number 1, to be the ultimate person, which of course I'm honing in on every day. Sure. 1 is having a drive to succeed and overcome odds. Number 2, having no fear. That's a big one. 3, having no ego. 4, being relaxed. I'll describe that a little better right here. The ultimate person, in spite of overwhelming odds coming from all sides, needs high intelligence and to possess no fear. Having no ego allows the opposition to never emotionally irritate, confuse, or throw you off guard. Being relaxed enables you to avoid reacting to rash and confusing plays on your emotions. Now, there's a very good chance that there is nobody currently walking this earth with those qualities. But if there were to be a person like that, that's what you would need to be a perfect person. I've often thought about the quality of fear. There are actually people that are born with no sensitivity to pain, say. But whenever you see people in conflict, they always react with fear. Say you're some government officials like MIBs visit you at home and threaten your family and threaten you and threaten your offspring for the next 500 years. You're gonna get afraid, and fear alone is going to stop you from continuing your research into things that they don't want you to look into. So your research stops. All the things you were working towards to expose rotten people for what they were doing, it ends right there because of the fear factor. Well, what if you were to have no fear? And thus, that's the kind of thing that I got to thinking about. If you were to have no fear, they would have nothing to make you back off. And then you would have these other qualities that I mentioned, like this high intelligence and no ego, and this drive to succeed and overcome odds, to find a way to one-up these guys that are causing all this fear. So you would have all these qualities that would enable you to circumvent and overcome all the things that most people would react to make them stop pursuing things that the people that are making you afraid would make you stop from. So that's kind of how I started thinking about these qualities of the perfect and ultimate person. If you got any questions about that, feel free to write in. So we're going to move this all aside right now, all the stuff we've talked about so far, and get into our main event for today. And that is taking some of this Bristol board here, moving Albert Dorne aside, and moving this to the right side of the image, taking one of these boards away, as so, and start translating this. Now, do I want to start on her head? Do I want to start on her folds? That's all up to you guys. That's all up to us when we start doing these things. A lot of smart people would start not on a critical area, but a non-critical area. So we could kind of just kind of move into it on an even plane and so we could kind of get used to what we're doing here. And that was the reason for the little rough that I had done on the girl's face earlier. Fact is, you kind of don't know where you're going with anything until you throw yourself into it. But it's also a very wise thing to do to acquaint yourself with the qualities of the medium that you're working with first before you throw yourself into it. This is a technique that doesn't really behave the way other mediums do. Every medium is unique. So this is going to be very wet right here, and I know better than just to throw myself into it. Well, I hope I do. Now that is unexpected. I expected this thing to flow everywhere, but it's not doing that. So the fact that it's not, I'm going to water this down just a little bit and just kind of get into it. We're going to keep this here. See, it's not going to go where the water's not. That's one of the qualities about water and a medium. Let's see, a little more. This is going to be very light. I'm not going to follow this exactly because when I look at it, it's actually kind of confusing to me. So I'm not going to follow something that is doesn't really fit my brain waves. Remember, you can always go darker, okay? Now that's going to be very dark. And I'm going to avoid that by playing it smart and knowing that I can always go darker later on. Now that's getting pretty light, and that's kind of how I want it to be right now. So I just added a very light stroke there that can easily be darkened with another gradation of wash. This is pretty dark, so if I want to go full blast dark, I can do that. Remember, it's got a square bottom there. This is kind of cool. I know that I want kind of a gradated thing down here, so I'm going to pick things up with kind of a clean area of water, like so. And it's picking up some of the color that's already been put down there, which is fine. I'm just going to go back over that in a second here. How much of that can I pick up right here? Remember, this is not watercolor. This is it behaves like watercolor, but it's a permanent deal going on here. Now that's going to flow out to a certain degree. These are things you're just going to have to get used to when you work with a medium like this. I want that to be a soft edge, so let it flow out and expand itself the way it's going to do when you learn how to work with this medium right here. And that's the way it's going to work, see? It has a mind of its own. But you've got a mind of your own too, so I'm going to let this area dry right here and put a very, very light wash over it. And I'm going to do the same with her shirt up here. It's not pure whatever. It's kind of got this light deal going on here. And I'm going to do the same thing to the dress right here too. Now there's a rim light on here that I want to preserve if I have the competency to actually pull this off here. I don't always, believe me, but I'll see what I can do here. So, okay, well let's grab the main brush that I use. This is number 10 from the what company is this again? King Art, yeah. Oh, the guys that stole the wonderful Low Cornell brushes from me. The bastards. How can I sue that company and get my Low Cornells back? Well, the dude is not really a suing kind of guy, so I may have to wait a long time. Looking at my reference, how far does this head go back? Where are the highlights? All that kind of stuff. And there's an ear peeking out there. This is not as easy to handle as it may look. as you guys will find out once you start throwing yourself into this. I'm going to put a very light wash in this too, and that's going to help me spread some of this stuff out just within the water area that I put the water area down on. See? See how that works, guys? Yes, of course you do. Yes, of course you do. Thing is, if you were to do this all the time, you'd obviously, pick up the qualities of this medium much faster. That's just the way it works. You assimilate this stuff much faster by doing it. As they would say in the famous artist courses, you learn to draw by drawing. What a concept. I don't know if this is the hair or actually it's probably cast shadow. So now that we've got that water laid down, let's put a pretty strong cast shadow. That's hair, obviously. One can tell the difference. And just kind of let it blend in and flow in as it will tend to do. This area right here, I'm going to kind of change this right here into a pattern with my number 10 King Art. Used to be Lowell Cornell brush. Hopefully I won't get my hands into this stuff, but knowing that it's almost inevitable, you can expect that to happen. So now that I've kind of wetted that area, I can let it flow into the rest of this area right here. And I've kind of taken some of the paint out of this area, out of the brush right now, so I can kind of make it disappear into a lesser value here. So you notice how the ink is behaving here. Now that this area is done, I can go in here without a lot of smearing going on. Remember how perspective works, guys. You can't do anything without knowing this stuff. Some people would say, well, you need a ruler, Steve. And I said, well, I know how perspective works, so I don't have to really worry about that. Know your perspective. Keep life in perspective. This is going to have a backstop here for your back. Imagine that. This is going to have a graduation tone here. So I'm just going to go up here with less and less tone to keep it. I'm going to wipe some of this out right here to hopefully get a graduation thing going on here. And I can always blot it if I want. If I want it darker, I can just go in here with more ink and more water to do that graduation thing. This stuff does have a mind of its own. Right. All right, so we're going to take this big fat brush right here. Actually, we're going to take this fatter brush right here, this big 1-inch brush, and we're going to put this very, very light, super light deal right here, and let's see how light we can get it here. Okay, that's plenty right there. And just smear it over this area right here to be kind of like the same value as the top. Whatever I thought this was going to turn out like on the bottom, it's quite different. I thought it was going to be all smooth, but it's actually looking kind of ragged. Not at all like I thought it would be. Shame on this stuff. That's when you think it's going to cooperate, and it doesn't. There ought to be a law. Yeah, this responds very different from watercolor. I honestly believe there should be a lawsuit in the works here, so I'm going to talk to my lawyer about that. I'll get back to you on how that's going to work out. Didn't I mention I wasn't the suing kind? Well, I'm going to change that. Let's take some more water. Yeah, this is way different from watercolor. Way different. And I think this is a little too dark, so I'm going to spread some water in that. Oh, let's hope the face works out. I'm not going to use too much water. I think I'm going to make my attempt here to put in the face now. And this is going to depend a lot on getting just the right value worked out. Okay, that's about the right deal there. Watercolor dries lighter. It's the only thing on earth that I know that dries lighter in a water medium. And there's like this long sweeping S-curve that goes on here. And there's some reflected light coming into this this whatever here. See, once you start really getting in this thing, you're excused to make it any more sense. That's considered an artist thing, where you simply don't have to make sense because you're so one with the. Let's see, is that going to go crazy right there? You're so one with a painting that you're not expected to make sense. This is part of the artistic license you pay for with your monthly dues. This is a little rim light here. That's a little too dark. Let's see if we can pick that up. Barely. That worked. That's different. Let's see how badly we can ruin it here. Oh, this is kind of cool. This is a cast shadow, and based entirely on. See, this is all from models back then. Nobody worked from. Well, they did work from photos. They had photos, but I'm almost positive that this kind of stuff here came entirely from just models being set up. Oh, come on, people. You really got to do that to me, huh? Well, do it to me when it's not a live stream. Such is the way of reality TV. You just got to go with it. Well, at least we get points for bravery. Sounds like Elmer Fudd. Let's go in there and. But this is what Dorne and Fawcett had to go through. We're trying to get that highlight back, but we'll have to see about that. Back and forth, back and forth. What's the mother to do? Smart mothers choose Jif. So some partial success going on there. It sure isn't watercolor, guys. Let me tell you. This is a comic book paper right here. Maybe we can blame it on that. But I tell you, I have more failures here in front of a live audience than I've ever done with a non-audience. I need to let that dry. I'm smart enough to at least know that. We're just going to use some artistic license here for free-form inference going on here. And I love the way he did these hands here. They're just silhouettes of value. They're just one big light kind of deal going on here. And the other thing about art is that I don't think people understand this. Even with all this experience, a lot of people will tell you the following, that every time you pick up the same medium, it's almost like you're starting all over again. Another thing that really surprises me until I started to hear some people finally confess under duress is that you never master anything. That's going to spread out a little bit. I don't know how dark that's going to dry, but I'm going to wait until it dries to see exactly how it's going to react. Because when I go in there with when it's wet, it doesn't seem to want to really. It wants to give me a hard time. So we're going to take Pocahontas here. We're going to give her a cast shadow from the back of the chair. These long braids are going to be. This is where the pointed brush really comes in handy here. You're really going to need that when it comes to subtleties, like fingers here. People will nail you for hands quicker than anything. So, bottom line, you really have to know how to draw hands. These in between the finger things are extremely subtle, which that is not. Maybe I can blot that. Well, it's not supposed to be entirely here. We'll give it a super light glaze right here like that. That'll help me out a little bit. Now I think this area on top is dry, so I might be able to actually go in there with some darks without having a lot of bleeding going on. And then I can subtly do a little soft edging here. This pointed area in the brush is vital to carrying this out the way I need it. It's still doing that bleed thing for which the lawsuit is going to have to be carried out. It's just simply not fair. Some of these areas, it just wants to hold that water in, and make things more difficult than it should be. But yeah, watercolor reacts differently, as I'm finding out more and more, to my eternal detriment. Hound dog, what are you doing over there? Besides sneezing. Now we do here. If I do this right here, it's going to go everywhere. At this point, I kind of don't care. Yeah, we don't care. Now it's a commonly known fact that you can fix things with opaque paint. So I'm just going to leave that the way it is and just not care. Doesn't mean I'm going to drop the lawsuit. So we'll leave it like that for right now. Chloe, what do you think? You think so? Yeah, okay, well, that's what I thought. We're going to leave this like so. Let it dry for a little bit, and then we're going to go in with our various other tools to attempt to perform some surgery here. Okay, we're gonna speed up the process here, and then we're gonna go in with our colored inks. Provided you guys are still hanging in there with me. I see that the head is not wide enough. That is a sin that simply cannot go without major surgery here. Oh, I should have done that all along. Well, if you had a brain. But I hadn't thought about it. See, that's why you can write about the ultimate person and not actually be one yourself. If we had to be what we write, we'd all be in trouble. Yeah, there's different properties in this stuff. So let's put in, what colors do I want to make her? Do I want to make this girl? Okay, so these colors have dried up. Yes, they have. So let's make some decisions here. I think I'm going to make some. You know, she's got that old feeling to her, obviously. So I'm just going to put in. Okay, the yellow's still intact, and I'm going to put in some burnt umber and some yellow ochre, and that's gonna do it. By the way, these are FW inks. These stupid little eyedroppers, they don't work after a while. So that's another high reason to look into the lawsuit I mentioned earlier. These things are used up. When they are, get rid of them. Don't beat a dead horse. Tape kind of helps. I always have one of these things up here. I've had one of these since the very beginning. I don't know who I picked it up from, but I've always had one. This is not a tradition that I want to mess with. If it works, it works, and you just hang on to it. I'm mentally doing this thing in my mind of how I want. Okay, so let's do a combination of this for her face. That's not what I want for her. That is what I want for her face, but okay. Wrong brush to use. Okay, here we go. Remember, it's all waterproof, so blast away. Now maybe this is the point where I can use the excuse of what was my excuse? I kind of forgot already. It's tempering the black underpainting. In other words, it's going to soften things a little bit. I don't know what she's got on here. Some kind of a gown. Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's her face. Seems to work okay. Don't forget to paint up to the lines. We need our dark purple here. We don't. Our blue is gone. Not that that's an excuse. I could always use some kind of a different. I could use watercolors or dyes or whatever for this stuff here. This I can just fill in with God knows what. And for that stuff, I'm just going to use really a whole bunch of this ochre color right here. Now, if I don't like it, am I screwed? No, of course not. There's no such thing as being screwed in dude land. So, just going to scrub that in. I might do a gradation down here somewhere, just to give it some pizzazz. Boy, these things take a long time to do. I can't believe it. There's a lot of things I noticed about these YouTube types. For one thing, a lot of these guys do the same thing over and over. I wonder if I should adapt that. I can do the same head over and over and over. What do you guys think of that? The same 3/4 view over and over and over. Let's get some more of this color in here. She's getting pretty dark, but we don't care. Are you ready, Steve? Yeah. Andy? Okay. Rude fans? All right. Okay, so that's what we got so far. You know what? I need to add kind of a background to this right here. Let's be really silly here, okay? Because we're at the point where we just don't care what goes on here. Let's just smear some of this purple in here to give it some. Well, you guys tell me what it needs here, right? I'm just going to throw it in, and you can make up a word. But for this stuff, I know what I'm going to call this. I need to get some more of this in here. This blue color, cerulean, or whatever you want to call it. This is going to kind of set it off. You learn these. Hello. Why do you always run out of this stuff when you really, really need it? Well, we don't care, right? Isn't that what we said? We don't care. I believe we have some extra of this. Oh, okay. So when we add purple to this, we're going to get some. We're going to get kind of a bluish color. Fine with me. And this is what happens when you just don't care. Up in the air, you just don't care. So today's lesson is about not caring. Let's look at my example, and you'll figure it out. Okay. Now we're using a lot of water. Oh, I kind of like that. And if I really want to contrast that light side of the face, with that rim light, which is colorless, that's what I'll do. Pretty smart guy. Thank you, Steve. You're welcome. So we kind of saved the day by being completely reckless and heedless of the consequences. Yes, I do advise you to do this at home. It's a crazy world, and I encourage you to follow my footsteps here. Okay, now we're getting into the the abstract world of the dude here. It doesn't have to make sense, it just has to look good. And abstract work is actually very close to what every piece of art looks like if you turn it upside down. And you have no frame of reference. So there's our deal for today. Drawing started out okay. At least we can say that about it. There you go, guys. I think that's going to do it for today. There's the reference material. You guys can work on your own version there. If I was working with pencil, I could control it much better. Watercolor, same thing. But we don't care. That's today's mantra. We don't care. And I guess I'm going to see you next week after I add this small detail that I didn't see at first. So I encourage you to not care, and I'll look forward to seeing your experiments next week. And don't forget, you can become the ultimate person in 5 easy weeks in the privacy of your home. I'll see you next week.